Place your order.
Cookies, cookies,
Yum.
cookies, cookies. We go cookie eating cookies.
The Great American Cookie Company.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, we've really got a good interview right now, Dan, set up. There's a book here. It's called A Rookie Cop versus the West Coast Mafia, Breaking Up the Best in the West Gang. Now, that's enough to make you want to read the book, just the title alone. On the phone is that rookie cop, William G. Palmini, Jr. He is the chief of Department of Public Safety at UC Hastings College of the Law in San Francisco. He's got 45 years of experience now. He's not a rookie right now, but this story takes us back in time to a different time, back when Robin Williams was still a busboy. That's how far back this goes. I believe I remember reading that somewhere. And Tanya Chalupa is on the phone as well. She has expertise in law enforcement and traffic safety issues, and she's received a bunch of awards from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the California Senate Rules Committee, and her credentials go on and on and on. The two have teamed up to write this book about the rookie days of Bill Palmini Jr. So they're both on the phone. Let's say good morning to Tanya Chalupa and William G. Palmini Jr. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
And where are you right now, both of you?
Well, I'm in Virginia, near Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
and Bill's in California.
Okay.
In California.
Oh, wow. So we're making a big triangle across the country right now.
That's right. We got Florida now.
So let me start with you, Tanya. How did you team up with Bill Palmini? This is a fascinating story. We'll let our listeners know that, but I'm just curious how you got involved with this.
Well, I did California's car seat law for little babies to be buckled up, and I was involved in traffic safety when the vets discovered Bill Palmini singing, and they approached me because I said they needed for this one teen driver program something that sizzled, that attracted white media audience.
Okay.
And we started working together. He became the Elvis cop, and we had other police officers that joined in and worked with the program. It was very, very successful, by the way. We actually achieved results based on independent highway patrol data. And then while we worked, we went out to lunch and talked, and we had first the serial killer story, and Bill didn't want to work on the book at first.
Oh, my goodness.
I started doing a fiction, and then he said, well, why don't we do the real thing? So that convinced him. And one thing led to another, and here we are, miles apart now, but we're still working together.
Oh, wow. So Bill, just a curious question. If we were writing about the mafia, would we be worried that we might get repercussions?
Well,
Yes.
you probably so, because as a matter of fact, during the research for this book, Tanya's a witness. We interviewed a mafia figure in San Jose, California, who I'll clean this statement up. Said he was going to blow my head off with a shotgun.
Oh, was he in prison when he said that?
No, he was not.
But you met up with him for research for the book?
No. He refused to talk to me. He said if I came around, he was going to blow my head off with a shotgun.
Oh man. Okay. So obviously this is still, but the story that you tell in the book takes place how long ago?
It's basically
It was in the
69,
70s,
70, 71.
1970s and 80s.
Okay. And I apologize. It sounds like there's a delay, and we might be speaking over one another. I know it's not intentional, and it certainly isn't on my part if that happens. Okay, so where do we begin with this? You were how old, Bill?
I was about 25 years old.
And you were you new to the FBI or new to police work in general?
Well, I had about 3 years in police work. I was in Sausalito Police Department, which is just north of the San Francisco, right over the Golden Gate Bridge. So I had a total of 3 years experience at the time.
My goodness. And was it something you were assigned to do, or did you say, was it a mission that you gave yourself?
Well, no, I was the on-call detective. This happened to fall on my weekend, and I got the call, and I responded to the scene of the crime, and I began the hunt for the perpetrators.
And what was the crime?
It was a a group of men came over in a boat through the San Francisco Bay and under the color of darkness, all attired in scuba gear like frogmen. They came in and took over the night crew at the Trident, the famous Trident, armed guns. They had police monitors and walkie-talkies. They brought in their own tools, and they did a safe burglary there. They were so sophisticated that to bypass the alarm, they drilled through a wall with a saw, and then drilled through the door to get to the safe, and drilled the hole or cut the hole into the safe. Poured money and or beer into the safe to keep the money from getting burned.
Oh wow, oh wow! And so then the alarms ring and you show up, right?
No, the alarm never went. They bypassed the alarm.
And so how did
That's why they drilled.
Okay.
That's why they drilled through the hole in the door and through the door to get to the safe. What happened was after they left, when the janitors, night crew, got free, then they called. They called the police department. We responded.
I gotcha. Okay. So, wow. So, Tanya, when you got on board with this, where were you at that point?
Well, I didn't know Bill at that point, but I just want to add, we're having a book signing at the very restaurant that Bill just mentioned.
Oh, really?
That's next week. That's where Robin Williams was a busboy, and Woody Allen has a scene in Play It Again, Sam, where he walks through the restaurant. At that time, the place was a drug mecca for Hollywood, the New York hip, and the music industry people. And the Rolling Stones used to party at that restaurant. So when the brains behind the safe robbers, William Floyd Edelman, he knew what he was doing when he hit on that place because of not only the money that they had in terms of the business, but he also was connected to the San Jose Brotherhood, which was a mafia-run drug syndicate for all of California and the West. And they had drug money at that night when they hit the restaurant.
And he knew that somehow. Edelman knew that.
He knew because he was connected with the San Jose.
Oh, my goodness.
San Jose group that was a syndicate. I just want to add that William Floyd Edelman is the one that Bill, as a young rookie cop, reeled in. And he was a very close friend of Colorado boss Scotty Spinuzzi. And because of that relationship, Edelman could go anywhere in the country, and all the mafia bosses would have to take him in and respect him because of his relationship with Scotty Spinuzzi. And at the same time, there were some very high-powered people in California who resented him for it because he was an outsider, and they had to show him respect, and he even had more clout. He had clout over them.
Wow. So when the break-in happened, was Robin Williams working the tables that day, or any of the other people you named, or is that just, are they just, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but is that just a name-dropping thing? Are we just naming them because they were there?
No, he worked during that period.
Really?
I don't know the details, but he was during that period because one of the people I interviewed, who was the son of the manager, was telling me stories how in that era he and Robin used to, fool around, do crazy things, because it was a fun kind of a place.
Wow. Okay, so, wow. And Bill, you could have had a showbiz career because you've got that voice, right? But you
I don't know about that, but I don't know. I don't know about showbiz.
Okay, so but
he
I
could
give it a
can
try.
vouch for that. And so, I also want to add, in many respects, Bill is like a precursor to Joe Posta and Donnie Brasco.
Okay.
He was one of the early ones to infiltrate and meet with high-level bosses because of this guy that he reeled in, William Floyd Edelman. And Bill can tell you about his times of drinking with him.
Okay, so did you become friends with him, or how did you reel him in?
Well, actually, what happened was that we served an arrest warrant down in San Diego. The FBI was staking out the house that Edelman was staying with, and Scotty Spinuzzi happened to be there that night, and the FBI was staking the place out, and they did not me to serve the arrest warrant. However, I went down, accompanied me to San Diego was the Federal Strike Force on Organized Crime, and we went ahead and made the arrest. Scotty Spinuzzi was in there. There was a meeting prior to us getting there, prior to the FBI setting up. We learned that Frank Bompancero, the Small Dons, Scotty Spinuzzi, and Tanya might remember some of the other ones there. They were there having a meeting because they wanted to take over a couple of casinos in Las Vegas, either by muscle or kill them.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the plan that we broke up that night.
The movies make it seem that the law enforcement and the mafia have a relationship, even though, maybe I don't know if it's good or bad. Is that true? I mean, is there sometimes a friendship between the people who are arrested and the people doing the arresting?
Well, I could say this, that I was in awe of Edelman and some of these mafia figures. They're actually likable people, and Edelman had that command presence, if you know what I mean. He wore those $400 suits,
right,
driving a black Cadillac, and he had that command presence that you look up to. In fact, I learned more from him than I could in any police academy or any police school regarding organized crime and the way they operate.
Because you talked to him, or because you just from watching him and knowing what he did?
All of the above. Talking to him, I secretly had taped myself. So every time I was with him, I wired myself, recorded everything he told me. I had the presence to save all those tapes. I had the presence to save everything that he gave me. In fact, when we did the search warrant in San Diego, there was an out-of-state case there with and Dick Lewis, who was a San Diego intelligence officer, older than me, obviously, opened up the out-of-state case, and there was sets of dice all laid out in the out-of-state case with all the casino names in Vegas and Reno and Tahoe.
Wow!
They were all loaded. They were all loaded dice.
Loaded dice. Wow!
And he took them, and he took it. He goes, "I'll take these." Of course, it was my search warrant. The rookie cop. I should have said, "I'll take this." But anyway, later on, Edelman gave me 4 sets: the Tropicana, the Horseshoe, and a couple of Harris, and told me and explained to me how they would get the dice into the games in the casinos, because they didn't have the eye in the sky back in those days, and they would win X number of dollars, not to bring attention to themselves, but they would do 5-6 casinos a night, and they could walk out of there and buy a new house.
Oh, wow. So, and the reason I was asking if there's a friendship between law enforcement and the mafia is because I'm wondering, as a rookie, were you bucking your authority? Were they telling you one thing and you were doing something else? Like, were they telling you to stay away, and you were trying to lower the boom on them, so to speak?
Well, what happened is that Edelman wanted me to come to San Diego and lived down there for a couple of weeks.
So he was courting you. So he was courting you.
Exactly. And Tanya could go into it a little bit more, but the Federal Strike Force wanted me to go. My chief would not let me go. But I'm very sorry that I didn't go, because I thought that would have been a great experience. Tanya, do you want to tell them about the Sally Stanford?
Oh, well, we add one more character to the whole milieu, and that is Sally Stanford was the former ex-madam of San Francisco who became the mayor of Sausalito when Bill was then a detective. And she used to fence jewelry for Edelman, and they knew each other. And what Edelman was doing at that point to lure Bill in, he was using Sally Stanford's restaurant, the Valhalla, as a lure that he would bring his men to break in the middle of the night. But he wanted Bill to give him the inside scoop. And had Bill done that and told him what her schedule was, who worked there, he would have become a dirty cop and
gotcha. You're right.
Edelman's control.
So
but he didn't. So he avoided that.
So because both men are named William, that's the confusing part. So Bill will refer to you as Bill, and William will be Edelman, I guess, for the sake of this conversation. So, Bill, were you being lured with sex or with money? I mean, there's a madam in the story now. I mean, were you getting any of that?
Well, Yes to all your questions there, because they wanted me to go to San Diego with a 30-year-old divorcee that had a state ranch with horses on it, and they wanted me to live at her house and party there with some of the mafia figures. So the answer to your question is yes, I was being lured. When you say a divorcee, 30 years old, I was only 25.
Yeah, that's. Ladies, you don't understand. That's hard to resist. I think so. And I want to ask you if you did or not. I'm just curious if they were using that to try to lure you in. So where is he now? Where are these guys now? Did they ended up in prison, right?
Hardly.
Edelman, I'll let you answer that, Tanya. Go ahead.
Well, Edelman went back to San Diego. What Bill got involved with him was Edelman wanted to make a deal for himself in San Diego, but there was a link to the San Diego mafia boss, Frank Bompensero. So together, Bill and Edelman worked to close that leak with the San Diego District Attorney's Office, because that's where the leak was. And they actually even blackmailed one of the prosecutors because his son was involved in some marijuana thing. And so to get their way, they blackmailed a prosecutor there. They had a lot of clout. And so Edelman wanted to negotiate with San Diego, and it was because he trusted Bill Palmini. He recruited him to help him kill that leak.
Wow, this is so in depth. The book, for those just tuning in, the book is called "A Rookie Cop versus the West Coast Mafia: Breaking Up the Best in the West." It is Best in the West Gang. It is a true story. William G. Palmini Jr. is on the phone. He is the FBI agent featured in the story, and his co-author is on with us as well. And obviously, you've been working together. You two have become friends, and it sounds like you were friends before the book.
Well, we worked closely together. I was sort of the Colonel Parker for his Elvis the Lawman without the big box.
Okay, all right. And just so I apologize, I didn't say your name when I was reintroducing you. Tanya Chalupa is the lady you're hearing on the phone. Was the mayor a lady too? I'm confused about that.
Yes. Sally Stanford had a movie made about her life, starring Diane Cannon. It was called A Lady of the House. And, of course, she didn't like that movie because she felt no woman could play her. She was so unique. But she was very, very powerful in California. And supposedly, when the UN was first being formed in New York, most of the delegates, outlined the whole concept in her cat house in San Francisco.
Really? There's so much. Do you trust anybody ever? Either one of you? I mean, it seems like the lessons we learn from the true crime stories is that people in power just are simply in power. They're not necessarily higher ethically or morally, right?
Well,
I was surprised how much there was corruption in government, but at the same time, there are people that I met who are in government who are squeaky clean.
Yeah, I guess that's fair to say, and necessary to say, yeah.
But Larry, I will say this to that. During this investigation and during all the things that were happening so fast, I found, first of all, I've got to tell your audience that the scenes are so accurate and so good that anybody reading this will live this book. Oh, well, Tanya put the scenes together so correctly that we even went to the places like Dodge Ridge to make sure everything was right on. But to further answer your question, there was a lot of police departments that I take a stab at some of the police departments in the book because of professional courtesy or jealousy. When Edelman and Devaney, that's another person that was arrested in this case, he did do time in San Quentin, but a lot of these departments would either try to come over and steal this big fish, William Edelman, away. They would, in fact, I had a department in the Bay Area that followed them to Rico's restaurant in Sausalito. Prolific safe burglars. They follow them on 2 days in a row. They follow them to a restaurant. in Sausalito, they don't even call us to say, hey, you guys ought to know that there's 2 safe burglars that are going into this restaurant, to give us a heads up, and that place got hit by this group. By the way, $20,000 of the Trident money that was burned went to Frank Boppencero's restaurant down in San Diego, where he laundered that money through his restaurant to get the clean $20,000 back.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know what's ironic about that whole thing? He was committing crime. Frank Boppencero was committing this kind of crime while he had turned and was talking to the FBI. So on the one hand, the FBI was paying him what would be equivalent of $82,000 a year today to talk to them, and putting pressure on him to give inside information on the mob while he was still conducting his criminal work as
My
before.
goodness. Yeah,
he was protected.
I don't think a novelist could come up with a story like this. This is a true story. Let me give away the book. I have a copy of the book, and how much of a dollar does one get back after it is what? Oh, how much? Joe wants to know, how much of a dollar do you get back after it's been laundered? A whole dollar?
Oh, usually 50 cents on a dollar.
50 cents.
Yes, a lot of them
told
me the ones that I spoke
yes,
to that had laundered money, they said 50 cents on a dollar.
Okay.
Right. Larry, they used to do post offices, several of them, and they'd go in and take cashier's checks and stamps, and it was 50 cents on a dollar.
Wow. I do have a copy of the book, and I know some people are calling to get the one I have, and I will take your call, but after the interview, only because, so let it keep ringing, because I'm using one of those lines to speak to, I believe Tanya is on that line. Tanya Chalupa and William Palmini, you have held us spellbound today. The book is called A Rookie Cop versus the West Coast Mafia. Do you guys have a website?
No, I'm setting one up. It's going to be tanyachalupa.com. It's in the process of being set up.
How do we get the book?
Both our books, Murder on the Rails and A Rookie Cop versus the West Coast Mafia.
And is the book on Amazon right now?
Yes. It's available on Amazon, and you can get it through your local bookstores. You can order it, but it's on Amazon.
Okay, wow, what a fascinating story. And do you still sing, Bill? You both do? Okay,
yes.
That's right.
And he didn't even tell you about the double murder homicide in the story.
No, this is a crazy story. All right, well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Larry, by the way, there's a chapter in this book that is just fascinating.
The whole book is... Bill, we got to go. We're up against the clock, but
okay.
I know. I'm sorry, but thank you so much. What a great interview that was. You're definitely welcome back anytime. Thank you for being on with us today.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it.
All right, we've got to go to Fox News. We'll be right back.
Okay, bye.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. 2 people confirmed dead in a coal mining accident in West Virginia. Rescue crews working through the night to get to the trapped men.
The latest coming in, this was caused by a coal outburst at around 8:47 last night at the Brody Mine No. 1 in Wharton, West Virginia in Boone County.
Fox's Molly Henneberg. Flags flying at half-staff for a New Hampshire police officer shot and killed when he responded to a domestic disturbance.
Officer Stephen Arkell. He was 48 years old, a part-time officer for 15 years, the father of 2 teenage girls. He also coached lacrosse at Exeter High School.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt. There will be a candlelight vigil tonight. And sentencing day for the Mississippi man who pled guilty to making ricin and sending letters laced with the poison to President Obama and other officials. Fox News. We report, you decide.